Welcome to Rotogrinders Grinders Live. I am CVTPFL, and I'm joined today by my good buddy Will Priester, Chief Justice 06. No, this is not the morning grind. It is Grinders Live. It does feel like the morning grind, but the big difference, Chief, is I'm a lot more awake for this show than I am when we record at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, sometime around that, every night.
Yeah, man, for sure. Live and in living color should be a interesting slate. I'm gonna keep my comments at that. Small slate on a Wednesday. It'd be nice if they gave us that for the morning grind on a Monday, but very, very seldom do we get that. Seemingly on Monday and Friday, those are the big ones. So hopefully we've got some nuggets for the people, some shenanigans for the people, some rabbit trails for the people. We'll have it all.
I mean, we're gonna have something. This slate stinks. Well, I'm gonna keep it real. This slate's terrible. A couple things on PrizePicks that I like today. Hitters today. It's just a fantastic hitting slate in general. There's definitely gonna be some shenanigans. No Dean today. I'm not Dean. Obviously, I look better. I have a better beard. And I'm not going to do a promo where it's already over. So no Dean today. I'm sorry, YouTube. What's up, YouTube? Hope everyone's having a wonderful Wednesday, hanging out with us today. If you have questions, post them over there on YouTube or Discord. I'm paying attention to both. That's what I do. So, Chief, talk to me. Just kind of generalize this slate for you. What do you like today?
Like Drew Rasmussen, just because he's facing Miami. But all in all, though, I do think this is a good slate for hitting. We've got some what I want to call awkward weather spots. I don't want to call them bad; they're just awkward. And I think being able to possibly take advantage of that if people are a little scared off could definitely yield some good results. I think I like some offenses against some mediocre pitchers that everyone's going to be trying to load up on. And so for me, on a slate like this where there isn't a true ace, and if Castillo was back, I'd say maybe he's about as close to a true ace as we get. If Giolito was maybe maybe not facing Boston, he's probably about as close to a true ace as we get. Outside of those two, I'm not afraid of anyone. So I like the hitting, and I'm going to enjoy attacking some of these mediocre pitchers that everyone's going to be piling up on tonight.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing on Fanduel, so I guess we'll start there. Fanduel included the two 640 games, Roth, STL cards, and I already slipped my mind. Like Steve, the producer, just messaged me. Cheese and Roth STL cards, they're coming up at 6:20 Eastern, so about an hour and 15 minutes from now. They are going to jump on FanDuel first because lock over there is at 6:40 with those two games. I like this. The slate on FanDuel is a lot better in my opinion because one pitcher site. I don't have to play two of these guys. And I mean, Drew Rasmussen against Miami. That's one of the better spots. If that's on DraftKings, the whole slate's changed, in my opinion. So, I mean, we're going to start here. We're going to talk about pitching first, like we always do on Grinders Live. So, yeah, I guess we'll start there. I will say this really quick before we jump into pitching. if you play DFS PGA, and I'll probably say this again because Noto does such an amazing job just in general. His PGA core plays is free for everyone today. I'll post the link here in a minute on YouTube and on Discord. If you're someone that doesn't have premium PGA and you play PGA, there's no reason that you shouldn't be reading Noto's stuff. Just a phenomenal job for years. Chief, it's not even like a one-time thing. Like Noto he's been doing it a long time. So, but let's get into pitching. Again, pitching on this slate is rough. Let's just talk FanDuel really quick because if the people are listening, FanDuel's locked and loaded at 640. We'll start with the four pitchers. I don't really have any interest in Poteet on FanDuel, one pitcher site, but I have a ton of interest in Rasmussen in that game. Low total, going up against Miami in Tampa. It kind of checks all the boxes if you're playing over on FanDuel.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I was saying, I have interest in Rasmussen. The other reason why I feel like I have a little bit more interest in him versus Luis Castillo is just that there's a kind of big ownership gap, I think, considering this slate. Now, we've got Castillo projected around 23% and Rasmussen around 11.5. To me, that's a big deal considering Rasmussen probably is in a slightly better spot with no weather concerns. So I was expecting Rasmussen to be a lot higher owned. I fully understand that Castillo is his old self. He's got more K upside and maybe a little bit more talent, but definitely feel like Rasmussen is the best play on the board considering all the factors today. And I don't think the ownership is reflecting that. So that gets me real excited on a slate where pitching is really blocked.
It's rough. It's a rough pitching slate. And, if you're playing on FanDuel, I think he has to be in the conversation. Even I know he doesn't typically pitch deep into games, but there's nothing perfect about any pitcher on this slate. Nothing. We got a young pitcher facing Baltimore. We'll talk about him in a minute. You got Giolito facing the Red Sox. There's downside there. Javier facing Cleveland. They're not like a heavy strikeout team. So there's nothing perfect about any pitcher today. So I think Rasmussen, if you're playing on FanDuel, very much in play. We currently have him projected about 15%. And he's more expensive than Javier. And I think that's one of the reasons that we're kind of seeing his ownership stay down a little bit. But for a 7-game slate on FanDuel, we're just seeing very spread out ownership. So, it's just one of those things. But the other game, the Chicago-Cincinnati game on FanDuel, I don't really think I can make an argument for Hendricks. Castillo, you have to kind of wait and see what Roth has to say about the weather update, whether or not you want to play Castillo. But there's some strikeouts. Suzuki, Swindell, Wisdom is in there. There's some strikeouts in this lineup. But I think I'm more concerned just about the weather here for this game for the pitchers.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think that's the big concern. And I will say, man, I know I keep saying the same phrase, but if this was Luis Castillo from last year, maybe not coming off injury, not ramping up, just kind of back to his what we consider his peak level, Luis Castillo is 10K on this slate. So at 7,300, I'm still very intrigued against the Cubs. I definitely think he can go 5, pick up 6 Ks. The question is, does he give up the runs? And does the weather hold up for him to be able to continue pitching? But so I do think Castillo's good value today, or possibly even the best value at 7,300. But we'll see kind of where the ownership continues to go after we get this weather. And I'm with you 100%. I'm not touching Kyle Hendricks with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk just pitchers in general now. We kind of covered FanDuel. We can talk about really all these other guys. I think we start here with Lucas Giolito. From a ceiling perspective, I think he's by far the top ceiling pitcher on this slate. The Red Sox lineup today, it's your typical Red Sox lineup. Devers, JD, Xander, Verdugo, Story, they're all in there. The thing that worries me a little bit is one, ownership, and two, there's not a ton of strikeouts in this Red Sox lineup. They don't walk a lot, but they put the ball in play a lot. Still, Will, I think ceiling wise, Giolito is just one of those guys where it's just like, all right, well, we got to play somebody today. We're probably playing Lucas Giolito because of his ceiling.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think he is the ceiling play. And I think people, I'm not gonna overrate what happened yesterday with Dylan Cease. Giolito could absolutely go out here and just work Boston tonight. They touched up Cease pretty good. Guess what? They touched up everybody pretty good yesterday. I mean, last I checked, they scored 16 runs. It might have been more than that by the time the night was over. I'm sure you would know this as Boston they just cruise from the opening tip, if you will. But I still think Giolito for sure, probably some of the highest upside on the slate. If he's on and the K's are there, he's going to be just fine. So I'm with you. We haven't seen Giolito crack 50 yet this season. I'm not expecting him to crack 50 tonight. But he's still, he could still get there. If the stars align, he could absolutely smash it.
Looking at the other options in this range, you got Christian Javier, another, really solid pitcher, going up against Cleveland. We know they're a lower strikeout team in general here, but on the flip side, again, kind of what we were talking about with Rasmussen, there's nothing perfect about any pitcher on this slate. So Javier, another guy with a 30% K rate. He strikes out righties at a 41% clip this season. He's another guy that you're looking at playing. Now, whether you want to play him and Giolito together, if you want to go down to Sears, all the scenarios we'll talk about here in just a second, but just talk to me about Javier in this spot.
I'm not playing any Javier on any site. X button. I'm not playing around with this Cleveland offense. In fact, Javier was in my PrizePicks video today. I'm taking the under on the pitching outs at 16.5. Like, I don't think he goes anywhere past 5 innings in this spot. And he seems to be, at least seemingly, he seems to be a somewhat popular choice. I'm saying somewhat, but I'm not playing Javier. When I look at these K rates from Cleveland, I've made, some good decisions this year saying, okay, I'm going to stay away from this spot because these guys are okay. Namely St. Louis, right? Every time St. Louis is on the board and I see a pitcher, I say, they might get touched up today, but overall, if I just avoid that spot, I'm going to be profitable long-term. And that's how I feel about this Javier situation today. I don't want to have to deal with hoping that he goes out here and has an upside game when everybody else is playing him. I think Rasmussen has just as much upside today as he does in this spot. So I'm taking the full fade on both sides.
I think that's brave, just being honest. I could easily see it working out because this is a tough team just in general to not only strike out, but, just a team that, you're worried about giving up some bombs to as well. You look at the top 5 hitters and, 4 of these guys have a strikeout rate under 15% this season against right-handed pitching. So they're another team. It's kind of a carbon copy of the same thing that you're looking at for the Red Sox. You're looking at here for Cleveland, and we just don't have a ton of options. Do you have interest here in Charlie Morton going up against Philadelphia? He has looked better in his last couple starts. There are more strikeouts in this lineup than there are in some of these other spots today. Talk to me here about Charlie Morton.
Charlie's right on the edge for me, man. He's looked better, but he still doesn't look great. But he does have the strikeout capability. It's just he's sitting at 20% right now, 5.56 xFIP. And I just don't trust him right now, Stevie. From an overall standpoint, I just don't trust him. And I'm with you. And I will echo what you said. He has looked better. He's absolutely looked better. And so perhaps the K rate normalizes. Maybe he gets up around 25% by the end of the year, 24%, something like that. And perhaps the XFIP comes down to around 4.2, whatever. But I still feel like something is off. Like even that start against Miami, he was cruising, and then it just felt like he had a meltdown. If anybody watched that game, and I did watch that game, so I just Philadelphia is still potent enough for me to be a little bit more cautious. I don't think he's bad. I've probably, and this is crazy, I've probably got more interest in Ranger Suarez than I do Charlie Morton today, for what it's worth. And Rangers K rate is lower, the XFIP's a little bit lower, but man, Atlanta's made everybody look like an ace. Everybody. I think Ranger Suarez is sneaky here if he can keep runners off the base pass with the walks. I think I'm on Ranger a lot more than I am Charlie Morton.
All right. I mean, that's fair, especially looking at kind of ownership on DraftKings. We currently have Morton projected for 28% and Ranger Suarez around 10%. So, yeah, I mean, just in general in this spot, this is a slate where I'm not going to tell you can't play Giolito, you can't play Javier, you can't play Morton, you can't play Suarez, you can't play Dietmers, because I think the talent level outside of maybe JP Sears, and we'll talk about him in just a second. I have a lot of thoughts on him. But, I mean, Tyler Wells, not a huge strikeout guy. Glenn Otto can't throw strikes. Rich Hill is 3 years past his prime against a team that is very good against left-handed pitching. Cal Quantrill is facing Houston, and Cal Quantrill is not very good. So, I mean, yeah, it's just one of those things where any of these guys, I'm not going to talk you off of. I will say Reed Dietmers is probably my least favorite in this range up here towards the top. Waiting on the Texas lineup still. We don't have a Texas lineup yet unless it's come out here in the last few minutes, which check in my phone really quick. It doesn't look like it's come out. So, yeah, I mean, I don't really have interest in Dietmers. I talked about it after his no-hitter. I was really worried. But, yeah, what are your thoughts here on Dietmers?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm going to give us a good reference to get ready for another pitcher that's going to come back later. That's the same way I feel about Jordan Lynch. Is it Jordan Lynch? Jordan Lyles. Sorry, Paxton Lynch was the quarterback.
Jordan Lyles isn't pitching today either.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is Jordan Lyles pitched well over 100 this past start against the Yankees. And so he's on my list for the next start to just say, just no way, right? I'm in stay away mode. And I'm with you. That's kind of how I feel about Dietmers. So that's really the point I was trying to make. When guys go the distance like that, it makes me very interested in staying away the next time. And so you saw what happened against Texas. Maybe he's not completely back just yet. So I'm with you. I'm not playing Reed today, even in this spot against Texas at home. I'm in stay away mode for sure.
I mean, he has average strikeout stuff. This lineup, they should be able to throw a lot of righties at him in this spot. Average strikeout stuff. I mean, again, I'm probably not going to tell you can't play him because, I mean, the slate for pitching is it's rough. But he's not my favorite. You mentioned Ranger Suarez. My only concern here with Ranger Suarez is Atlanta is much better against left-handed pitching than they are against right-handed pitching. And this has been a thing for the last 2 or 3 years with this team. And I mean, the lineup looks scary, Will. There's a lot of
though, man.
I know there's a lot of strikeouts still, but I mean, this is one of those spots where Suarez could walk people. I mean, he is someone that struggles. He struggles with command, and you look at Atlanta, and I mean they walk a lot. They got some patient guys in the lineup. I hear you on Suarez, and I hear you about Atlanta and their strikeouts. And if Suarez was a righty, I'd probably feel way more comfortable in playing him. But I don't know if I can pull the trigger today.
I'm with you. Maybe my PrizePicks mind is getting the best of me on this one. I've been attacking Atlanta all year with K props and fantasy point props and pitching outs props. And I'm telling you, like, I don't know if I missed one because of these K rates. And that's, I think in traditional fantasy, I think there's some intrigue there. Like I said, it's very intriguing. It's one of those, okay, it's one of those spots where he's at 2%. I'm running 150. Maybe I plug him in 10% of my lineups and I let it ride. And if he happens to put up a 40 spot tonight because Atlanta just happens to not connect and the walks come down for one night only, then I'm going to be in a fairly good spot here if he picks up 40 fantasy points at his price tonight. I think that's really what it is. So it's not like I want to play him in single entry. Like Rasmussen, I feel like is my single entry guy, my 3-entry max guy. But Suarez, I do think he has some tournament appeal here with Atlanta. Man, they've been K'ing so much. And I think I just want to try to at least take advantage of that if the bad Atlanta bats show up yet again.
All right, well, let's talk about him. JP Sears. I mean, he's the guy that projects to have a big ownership today. He's extremely cheap. I don't think he'll be highly owned on FanDuel. I still think he will get some ownership here, but I don't think he's going to be like highly owned on FanDuel. Well, one, the Baltimore lineup that they're rolling out there today, 100 ISO, 257 WOBA, 24.5% K rate, and a 5% walk rate against left-handed pitching this season. That's rough. Obviously, so I like Sears. I can totally see playing Sears today. I could totally see stacking Baltimore against JP Sears today. My biggest concern is not only the ownership, but he's maxed out at 65 pitches in his 3 starts in AAA since they sent him down to get stretched out. And there's nothing perfect about any pitcher today. He gets the weakest lineup by far. It's not even close. I mean, we don't have the Texas lineup yet, but so Will, talk to me here on your thoughts on JP Sears, and then I'll give my final thoughts on him here.
I think it's all about, to me, it's where do the offenses end up tonight, in my opinion, right? And that's something we just don't know currently. I think if you feel like the offenses are going to explode again, and you're going to need to be on the right team too, Stephen, because at 6K on FanDuel, in my mind, and hear me out, in my mind, 65 pitches is going to put him around roughly, let's say, 4 innings and at most 5 to 6 Ks if he's really on, right? But he probably can't walk anyone, and he's got to have the bats missing. So I feel like his upside, if we're talking about FanDuel scoring, is roughly, I'm going to give him 6 Ks, and he can't get the win because I don't think he goes past 4, right? So I think his upside is 30 fantasy points. And that means he goes 4 clean innings, doesn't give up any runs. I don't ever expect any pitcher to not give up any. Like, I'm always accounting for 1 to 2. So if I give him 2 runs, right, then he's at 24 points. So the question is, how good do you feel about him getting 25 to 30 fantasy points at 6K? I think that's my thought process behind it. If he picks up 30 at 6K, 30 is great. The bats are going to have to come through, though. Like, they've got to come through. And so if this happens to be a night where the bats kind of don't show up and you get 1 or 2 home runs and not a whole lot of big time scores, then him having 30 points isn't going to help you, because the pitcher that puts up 45 is going to be the one that you need, or 42 or 39. So that's my viewpoint on Sears on FanDuel. On DK, we're in a totally different boat because he's 5,500 and you can just pair him with your next best guy. So I definitely think, in my opinion, he's got a lot more value on DK than he has on FanDuel. The problem with DK is you don't have Rasmussen. So you're probably playing Gio or you're probably playing Morton, and you may not even really need Sears per se on DK. I think Javier is going to be a little bit overvalued on DK yet again. So it's probably Gio Sears if I had to run that combo.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the chalky combo today. Because I mean, we do have so many good bats. I mean, one of the reasons why a lot of the pitchers sink on the slate is because the bats in the slate. So, I mean, we don't have a Yankees lineup yet. Wells, I think, is the only legit realistic pivot in this range. I mean, I still think I play Sears and I just eat the chalk. You know, this is a guy, you know, just looking through his AAA stats earlier this morning when he was throwing, he's been throwing a ton of strikes. And I know it's AAA, but that's what you want to see, right? You want to see a guy throwing strikes. So my other concern about Spears is he does seem to be like a fly ball guy, and you know, we don't know how that's going to translate into the majors. But he's so cheap, Will. If he maxes out at 75 pitches, if he gets that 10 pitch increase, you know, from his last start to this start, say he maxes out 75, he's facing the worst lineup in baseball. He's definitely facing the worst lineup on the slate. If he gets 15 DraftKings points at 5,500, you're super happy tonight, right? Like, that's what it comes down to. You're just super happy.
Oh, man. At 15 on DK, like, sign me up. At 50, if you told me right now that he was going to get 15 fantasy points on DK at 55, I think we'd all be in. Or close to it. You know what I mean?
I think I would lock in the 15. I think I'd lock in the 15 before the game even started and said, just give me 15. If he scored 30, I'd be like, all right, I still got my 15.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. For sure.
Is there any other pitchers that you want to talk about today? You know, obviously Rich Hill's on the mound. Chicago has struggled as an offense this year.
Rich Hill can go sit down somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those spots they've been using Rich Hill to get through like two to 5 innings, and then kind of bringing in a guy to throw another 2 innings or so. So 56 pitches against Seattle last time out. This got absolutely shelled in that game. Yeah. And Eric Johnson, Spears does not suck. I mean, you can stack Baltimore. I love the game theory play of stacking Baltimore. You can stack Baltimore and go Giolito Javier, Giolito Morton. And I mean, you get maximum leverage on the field tonight. So yeah. And he also asked where Dean was. You know, Dean just said he doesn't want to hang out with you guys today. So they called me out of the bullpen. But he's going to, all joking aside, he's going to the Boston-Miami game tonight. Well, who you got? Boston, Miami. It's 2-2. Who do you got tonight? Who you got for the series? Because we know Golden State, I think, is going to kind of clinch it in 5 or 6 here.
Yeah, I think Miami gets tonight. I really do. I think Miami pulls, because I mean they've kind of been embarrassed here recently. You know, everybody on TV is talking about how terrible they've been. Stevie, I gotta think Jimmy Butler in the game come out on a mission, right? To say, look, let's slow your roll here, folks. Like we're a legit NBA team. And then let me also comment on the side here of how disappointed I've been. This has got to be, in my opinion, Stevie, the worst NBA playoffs I've seen in a long time. Because of the blowouts. Like, it's like this game there's a blowout, the next game there's a blowout. It's like, come on, man, can we have competitive basketball? These are supposed to be, as we get closer to like when we're in the Eastern and Western Conference Finals, Steve, we're supposed to have competitive games. And so we're seeing 20-point blowouts. Like, it's been awful. So to answer your question, I think Miami gets it tonight. But I've been very disappointed in the NBA playoffs. Has not been pleasurable for me overall. I mean, I think the best series was probably It's probably been Boston, Milwaukee. That may have been the best series. And if Chris Middleton was healthy, that series may have been like the NBA Finals. I mean, outside of that, it just has not been crazy exciting.
My brother-in-law is a huge Celtics fan. They actually went down to Miami tonight for the game. So I'm rooting for Boston just because my sister and my brother-in-law are going to be there. And plus, what better than Dean to go to the Miami game and, the Celtics win. That make my boy Kirkwood happy as well. But honestly, I'm with you. The NBA playoffs. Okay, so on the flip side of that, everything, I really want to see Boston Golden State. I think that will be the best finals that we could have.
Oh yeah, hands down. For sure.
So I mean, I'm a little biased because as just an NBA fan, I'm a Magic fan. My team was out of it in week 1 of the NBA. As a Magic fan, I just. I'm an NBA fan right now, and an NBA fan in me wants to see Boston Golden State because I think that would be a fantastic series. I think both teams do a lot of things well, and it'd be really interesting. But we knew we were going to get sidetracked at some point. That's okay. We have so much time. And then Alex in chat said, wouldn't max leverage on the slate be Boston or Chicago stacking? I do think Boston is the max leverage spot, but I do think Baltimore is the second highest. We're talking more DraftKings leverage just because Spears is going to have so much ownership on DraftKings. We haven't projected for 40. I think if you play like single entry, 3-entry max, he pushes like 50% on DraftKings today just because there's just not a lot of options. But we'll summarize pitching for me. We'll talk some stacks and then we'll go position by position.
Yeah, if you're on DK, I think the chalk pitching combo is Giolito Sears. If you're on FanDuel, I actually think if the weather's clear, I think the chalk pitcher is going to be Luis Castillo at 7,300 against the Cubs. If I'm playing on DK tonight, I am probably going with the chalk combo. I don't trust Javier in this spot against Cleveland. Definitely don't trust Cal Quantrill in this spot against Houston. I don't really trust hardly anyone. I think my one pivot would be a very shaky Charlie Morton, and maybe I do a Giolito Morton combo. In hopes that they both kind of get there. On FanDuel, for me at pitcher, the top guy for me overall in terms of matchup, skills, everything is Drew Rasmussen. The upside play is Lucas Giolito. He's the one guy I think could go out and get 8 to 10 Ks tonight. I don't think he gets 10, but I'm saying he's the one guy that I think could go out and just mow a team down because I still don't think Castillo is all the way there. A sneaky guy for me in terms of mass multi-entry against Stevie's better judgment is Ranger Suarez against the Atlanta Braves. Not loading up, but like I said, I think if you're running a mass multi-entry, I think 10% is very fair for a guy that's going to get currently one of the highest strikeout teams in the league.
Summed it up nice, my friend. We see some people over there in the YouTube chat talking about potential weather. Crunch time is up at 6:20 Eastern. Right after this, Kevin Roth will fill us in. His weather forecast over there on the Rotogrinders weather page says he lowered the Cincinnati game to yellow. Still somewhat concerned about maybe a pop-up shower or storms in general. And he said it's very possible that there's a potential delay. So I think that kind of rules out Castillo for me on a slate with pitching just kind of rough. I don't think I want my pitcher to potentially have some weather, but I'm still going to wait and see what he has to say in that one. And then the Chicago White Sox, he says his two models are kind of disagreeing with his stuff. So I'll be listening to Crunch Time because I want to hear kind of live what he's thinking on that one. And I mean, it's Atlanta. Anything can happen in Atlanta. So as far as weather, but yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Giolito, I think, is my favorite ceiling play today. On FanDuel, though, I will say that my favorite pitcher today on FanDuel is Rasmussen in Tampa against Miami. Neutral umpire. I guess we could talk about that really fast. Pretty neutral umpires across the board tonight outside of the Atlanta game, Charlie Morton and Ranger Suarez. And then the other guy that is very extreme hitters is the Texas LA game. So that Dietmar's Glen Otto game, extreme hitters umpire in that game. So Yeah, I mean, I think you summed up pitching well. I don't really have anything else to add outside of I'm not really on Ranger Suarez, but hey, I hear you, man. I hear you. But yeah, this is an interesting slate. Let's talk some stacks here, and then we'll go position by position, just kind of break everything down. If you all have any questions, make sure you go over to YouTube, hit the little subscribe button, help us out. We're doing this for you guys for free right now. So hi, YouTube. Love you guys being here. Also, before we get into stacks, if you haven't already, Scores and Odds, number one place right now for sports betting content. I do a lot over on Scores and Odds with NASCAR, baseball, some F1 stuff. So if you haven't checked out Scores and Odds, there's a 3-day trial right now. Go to the App Store, download it, take advantage of the 3-day trial. I mean, I'll have NASCAR stuff up for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I usually try to post 2 to 5 picks for each race. And, we have baseball. So one price gets you everything. Make sure you check that out. Will, stacks. Again, let's start with the FanDuel games, right? Do you have interest in stacking either Miami or Tampa today?
I don't. I don't think it's the day to do that. And maybe I feel like this is kind of going to be a somewhat chalky spot, but if the Cincinnati game goes off without a hitch, then I'm definitely on the Reds. Like Kyle Hendricks is no more. He's the ghost of Kyle Hendricks' past is out there pitching. So I
was
will
he
be
ever?
on.
Did he just run good for like 3 or 4 or 5 years? Did he just run good? Because the advanced stats always told us it was coming.
Yeah. So I like Cincinnati. I am in on a Baltimore and a Yankee stack today, just in case, right? Like, to me, this is one of those. JP Sears is coming out, not expecting him to fail, but he absolutely could in his first start, and it just could be adrenaline or nerves or whatever, right? And so I don't mind Baltimore. I definitely don't mind the Yankees as well. If I feel like Charlie Morton's going to have a meltdown, I am in on the Phillies, just a little small stat. But my favorite team by far today is Cleveland, and I know I keep saying that. I'm not buying into Christian Javier today. I'm just not. I think Cleveland has a day at the plate, and it's only going to help him. Like he doesn't even have as many Ks in there as usual. Because Franmil Reyes is out of the lineup, who was sitting at 44%. So it actually helps in terms of their K rates that he's not there. They don't have as much power, of course. But I like Cleveland, and I know Vegas does not agree with me, and I'm okay with that. I think they give them a little bit of trouble. And the same thing with Houston. So really like Houston today. I think they can get a hold of Cal Quantrill as well. And then last but not least, I think, there's something to be said about this Texas Los Angeles game, and it's really just attacking young pitchers. I don't think this game is going to be fireworks, but I think some runs can be scored in multiple ways. So I'm in on that game as well.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff you talked about, I like, just to kind of touch more on JP Sears. Again, this guy is maxed out at 65 pitches in back-to-back AAA starts. Very good command. He's not a top 100 prospect. We are looking at JP Sears today because of the slate and the pitching that's on the slate, and because of who he's facing. I mean, it's like 25th, 26th, I think is what I read, with the Yankees, just their organization in general. But like, he doesn't grade out to do anything besides throw strikes well. And I mean, he's had good strikeout stuff in the minors this year and last year. He had 53 innings, 10 starts, 65 strikeouts, and 53 innings last year. So he's good. He's not elite yet. And, pitchers develop, and they do. When you're top 40 in any organization, you have the potential to be elite, because baseball players in general and organizations are just so deep that if you're a top 40 prospect, you're good. So, all right, let's go position by position. We'll start at catcher. What's standing out to you here at catcher?
So on DK, In terms of the catcher position, the pickings are slim overall, right? It's not a lot there. And as much as I like Cleveland, I'm not playing Austin Hedges against Javier. He's the one guy I will not be playing. But I do think if you're going to play somebody, it's got to be Reese McGuire here with the White Sox. If that game is clean, I feel like it will be at 2,800, man, against Rich Hill. Like, I'm in. Like, give me all the Reese McGuire that you can handle. And he's really kind of it, Stevie. Like, I'm really not too interested in a whole lot of other guys. Like, I understand Wilson Contreras is facing Ranger Suarez, and he could absolutely have a monster day at the plate. He's also 5,200, and we've got money to spend today, but I just don't think I have to. And so that's where I am. You know, you've got, Adley Rutschman as well against Sears. Like, I don't hate him as well. Hasn't been sensational yet, but he is a top. I think he's a top catcher in their farm system. So I don't mind playing him as well. Those are probably my top two guys at catcher.
Yeah. So I mean, for me at catcher today, if you're paying up, it's probably Mitch Garver, and like he's 3,300. So I mean, that's kind of where I'm looking at if I'm going to pay up. If you want to stack Baltimore, Rutschman is, like you said, good prospect. He has ceiling. Jason Castro is 3K if you're playing Houston. If you're playing on FanDuel, William Contreras, you were talking about him and how expensive he is. He's 2,100 on FanDuel. Very, very cheap, hitting 6, has great power against left-handed pitching, and nobody plays catchers on FanDuel. He projects as like a top point per dollar play in general on FanDuel today. So if you're playing on FanDuel, no issues. You get that utility spot too, so you could still get another, like you're probably playing Joey Votto if you're playing on FanDuel because he's just so ridiculously cheap. We'll talk about that in a second. But I just wanted to point out William Contreras on FanDuel is just he's ridiculously cheap here.
Yeah.
Talk to me about first base. Who do you like today at first base?
Well, man, if you're doing FanDuel, I'll just do DK, and then maybe we can split it and try to help people. But I do like Anthony Rizzo, of course. No secret there. He's always one of my favorite plays. If we're going down to the bottom, we got Josh Naylor at 3,600 against Javier. No surprise there. You've got Yuli Gurriel at 3,900 against Cal Quantrill. I like him as well. Mountcastle, 2,400 today. Really like him a lot against Sears. Pretty good platoon advantage. And while, I think like we talked about, while Baltimore is not a great team by any stretch of the imagination, I still think, there are some guys that could possibly get off here. So that's kind of where I am. Like I said, it's ugly a lot of places. So you can play the big names as much as you want. There's plenty to go around.
Yeah, I mean, first base, again, like if you're playing on FanDuel, Joey Votto is 2,400 against Kyle Hendricks. He's just so extremely cheap. Andrew Vaughn is someone I think you play at first base or outfield. Jose Abreu. I like those guys against Rich Hill. If you're paying up, Rizzo is obviously someone I think that, makes a lot of people's lists today. On FanDuel, I mean, Schwarber is an outfielder or first base. You're probably going to use him more at the outfield position. But I think, Charlie Morton, when he has struggled, it's been left-handed power bats. Schwarber and Harper not getting a ton of ownership today. They obviously have some upside. Jared Walsh in your LA stack. Really like LA. They're my top stack on the slate today. I think this is a great spot against a pitcher that struggles with command. So I really like LA. Yeah, I think that's really all I got. I mean, outside of just stacking your first baseman in your stack. One other guy that I want to mention on FanDuel is Choi, batting 4th against Poteet. Really cheap over there. Second base, Will. My favorite second baseman is Ozzy Albies, but I mean you're on range with Suarez, so your
Listen,
boy
I'm on
Albies
Ranger.
is your boy
I don't
Albies
mind
batting
one-offs.
second. Let's talk about no. What do you got at second base tonight?
Now, I'm probably going all the way to the top, though. It's probably Jose Altuve, mostly. Yeah. I definitely think he's probably the best play on the board. If you think Gene Segura is going to keep rolling, then you've got him at 4,900. I would absolutely take Albies today over Gene Segura for what it's worth. As much as I like Ranger Suarez, I'm still in on like one-off Braves. I don't want to stack them. But he could absolutely give up a run or two here. So I'm not worried about it. Got Owen Miller against Javier. I've been talking about Cleveland, and I'm in on him as well. But Altuve is my number one for sure.
Yeah, I mean Altuve, Houston's in a great spot. This is a great spot for him just in general. Albies, I mentioned him. If you're playing on FanDuel, Mike Moustakas is someone. I like the lefties for Cincinnati in that ballpark going up against Kyle Hendricks. I think they all have a ton of upside. Marcus Semien, he's been rough to start the year, but I mean, he profiles really well against Dietmers, so I think he's someone you could potentially look at. On FanDuel, I think you can play Eli White at second base. He should hit leadoff. He has some stolen base upside in any matchup. So just kidding. White's hitting last tonight, so I don't really have a ton of interest in him. That lineup just came out. Semien batting leadoff for Texas tonight. I do like him a lot today. Heim is catching and Garver's DHing. So both guys in there in prime lineup spots for Texas tonight. So let's go to the hot corner, Will. I know who you like. I know who you like as much as you like Cleveland. I know you like Jose Ramirez. What do you like at third base? We all know.
Yeah.
We all know.
Yeah, it's for sure Jose today. Like he's number one on the list for me. I don't hate Yohan Moncada as well at 3,900. I think that's a really good price on him against Rich Hill today. I know he's been dreadful coming back, but this, I at 3,900, time to start taking some shots. Like at some point, he's going to start hitting. So I also don't hate Devers against Giolito. Like I do think this is the spot to probably spend up. You got Bregman at 48. I like him as well. You've got you got Rendon against Otto. Like third base feels like the loaded spot to me. Like outside of the outfield, it's some good bats here, but Jose Ramirez number one for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Jose Ramirez, you can really play him against anybody. If you want some leverage, I like Devers against Giolito. I don't see a lot of people playing Devers, and he's one of the better hitters in baseball. Bregman against Quantrell, Austin Riley against Suarez. I mean, the top end third base today is just absolutely loaded. Rendon, Moncada, back to Moustakas if you're playing on FanDuel. I like Moncada a lot. He's been unreal against left-handed pitching and from the right side of the plate this season. So he's obviously someone that I really like as well. I think that kind of clears up third base. Before we move on to shortstop, Will, we did have a question in chat. Jason Martinez asks, our lock for a GPP home run today. Who do you got?
A lot for a GPP home run?
Yep. Who you got? Give me someone. Who's going yard?
Let's see. Give me Jordan, man. It's got to be Jordan Alvarez against Cal Quantrill. The man's hot. He's at home. Feels like the right play to me.
I'm gonna give two. I'm gonna say Jared Walsh hits a home run tonight, and Yohan Moncada hits a home run tonight.
I like it.
So
I like it.
Hope that helps, Jason. Give me some shortstops, Will. Who are you looking at today? Oh, and just so you know, because we haven't talked about outfield yet, but going back to that Atlanta game, Acuna just got scratched, so we'll get a new Atlanta lineup here. That helps.
They're getting worse.
It helps.
Oh my goodness!
Just move Adam Duvall up into that leadoff spot. I think that's what all Braves fans want tonight.
No, I'd actually hate that. But yeah, so shortstop's fairly loaded as well. You got Timmy Anderson, Xander Bogaerts. I don't like Xander as much against Giolito, of course, but Tim Anderson at the top. I think he's the spin up. I think you just do it, Stevie. You just play him. I really don't think we need to take anyone else. Just plug in Timmy Anderson, move on.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. If you can afford Tim Anderson, I think he's a fantastic play today. Going back to Marcus Semien, second base shortstop on FanDuel. Wander Franco on FanDuel as well. He is batting second. He's 3,200. That's too cheap for his ceiling. Again, if you're trying to play some Boston leverage going up against Giolito, Xander Bogaerts is someone you could play at shortstop. Love the Tim Anderson call. Obviously, someone that he's great. I mean, if you want to save some money, you could potentially play like Tyler. I think Tyler Wade was in the lineup for the Angels. Let's see. Wade. Yep, Wade's in there. He's towards the bottom of the order. Rosario, you like Cleveland going up against Javier. He's batting second. He's cheap. I think that's it. Culbertson was in the lineup. He's super cheap. But yeah, I think that's all I got at shortstop today. Unless you're like full on punting with Marcelo Dubon, who I think he's like 2,100. So never issues. I never have a problem with. So Albie's leading off, Swanson second. Ozuna, Riley, Olsen, Contreras, Duvall, Arcia, and Dimitri.
I will say this, Stevie. When this team starts to hit, it's going to be ugly. Whenever it comes together, stop it. Stop. Listen, I want the Braves to win, and I want Ranger Suarez to do well. And I think we can get both of those things going.
Oh, don't you love when you're in that position when you're like you're a fan of a team, and like on the flip side, on like the betting and like fantasy side, you're like, I really want this to go this way, but I know it's probably going to go this way. You can't get the best of both worlds, man. Suarez is going to get rocked tonight. Atlanta's going to score a bunch of runs. You're going to be bummed that you lost money, and then you're going to be super excited that Atlanta showed up a little bit tonight, and you're going to get disappointed the next game because they're going to go right back to striking out. How being a fan works.
Here's the
thing. For a long time. You know how it works.
Here's the thing.
Sports.
And the more we're talking about it, it just needs to be hedged, right? Like, just go ahead, hedge this one, just stack up the Braves in 10%, play Suarez in 10%. And who knows? It could actually work out on both sides. Suarez goes 5 innings or something like that, 6 Ks, gives up 2, and just doesn't get rocked, or maybe gives up 1, and then the Braves just go to town the rest of the game. I mean, it could happen that way as well. But yeah, I'm with you, man. Being a fan it's something else.
Being a fan, so much fun. So before we get into outfield, we're going to talk about Trout. We're going to talk about Ohtani. Did you see this new thing that PrizePicks has been doing with giving like 2 or 3 hitters and, giving you 0.5? How do I not take Trout, Ohtani, Rendon over half a home run tonight in this matchup? Like, talk me out of that, Will. I need to be talked out of it.
I can't. Like, it's really a plus situation but here's the thing though. They're not going to give it to you when they're against like really trash pitchers. Like they're not.
Otto is not that great.
But he's serviceable. Like they're not going to give you the Angels against like what's his face on the other side of his career. Now just pitched, I think, last night or the night before. He pitches for the Royals. Zach Greinke. They're not giving you the Angels against Zach Greinke. You know what I mean? Like, they'll give it to you against Otto. Young pitcher's been pitching well. But then, so for instance, and I was actually shocked they gave us the Yankees today. Like to me, that's the one to take. They're giving you Judge. They're giving you Judge, Torres, and Rizzo. Like to me, I take that. I take the over on that. And but I'm not going maybe full unit on that. That's something maybe I mix it. Or if I go full unit, I'll mix it in with the flex just in case, so I can still make a little money.
If you haven't already, rotogrinders.com/Discord Chiefs Prop Shop. The dude is doing it. He's been in there the whole time we've been doing the show, trying to help people as well. Not only is he on Grinders Live, the dude is doing it. So before we get into outfield, give me 2 PrizePicks plays that you like a lot today. And I'm going to pair them with 2 that I like. And we're going to make the people some money here with a 4X.
Okay. So what we'll do, I'm taking Christian Javier under 16.5 pitching outs. Like that's one from the video earlier. The other one was Robbie Ray under 18.5. And he just closed out the 6th at 95 pitches. So as long as they don't get crazy and bring him back out, I think we're good. Plus, he's already started giving up home runs, just walked the guy right before the inning. So I think we're good there. The other one, though, Stevie, that I have is so for my 2, it's Christian Javier under 16.5 pitching outs and Marlins Rays under first inning runs. I don't think we get a run scored in the first inning today between both of these pitchers, Poteet and Rasmussen. So I feel really good about those 2. I do like Luis Castillo over 5.5 Ks, but I want to sit on the weather. Really confident, though, in the Marlins Rays under first inning runs, Christian Javier under 16.5 pitching outs.
All right, I'm going to add I already talked about it, Trout, Ohtani, Rendon over half a home run. I love this spot for the Angels tonight. So I was super pumped when I opened up PrizePicks and they had that on there today. The other one that I absolutely love today is Jordan Alvarez over 1.5 total bases. So I'm going to pair that with my boy Will here with his Javier under. And I'm going to do a flex play. I do like doing power plays when it's 3 on 4. I'm super happy when I go 5X.
Oh, yeah. Give me my 5X.
If I miss one, I still make some money. But, I'm super happy when that happens. So there you go.
I will say this. This is a sneaky one, Stevie. And this didn't come from me. Someone found this one in the prop shop. And that's another thing about the prop shop. Like, I contribute all the time. But I'm not the only person. Like, we all work together. Like, we're helping each other. And Stevie knows he's in there dropping disc golf, NASCAR, baseball, you name it. He'll drop some fire in there. But Kyle Schwarber over half a base is good too. I think somebody put some stats out. I think he's I don't know, 6 for 9 against Morton or something to that effect. And I know it's a small sample size, but a half base with platoon advantage, like I don't hate that for Schwarber, a guy that can send one across the fence.
All right, now I got the 4 on there. Now I'm going to go 5 and throw that out there as well. So there you go. Doing both of them. Why not? Yeah. Yesterday, if you were in the prop shop at 8:30 in the morning, I posted in the prop shop yesterday on Discord, and it was the lock of the century. It was Sonny Gray over 5.5 strikeouts, and it was George Kirby over 4 strikeouts. They combined for 19, and we hit that in like the 4th inning of both games. So
yeah,
make sure you're over there in the prop shop. Let's talk outfielders. We got about 20 minutes or so still. So if you do have questions, I am paying attention to YouTube. I mean, I'll field your questions kind of right away here. So if you have questions, post it. So Carolina guy over there in Discord, really quick, he says, love the morning grind in the evening time. Appreciate that. Thanks for listening to both.
Morning grind, evening time.
Who's your favorite FanDuel GPP pitcher was his question before we talk outfielders here.
Yeah, mine was Rasmussen as well.
Mine as well. I like him a lot. He's on my current FanDuel team right now. I like him a lot over there.
Yeah.
The game environment of that game potentially be low scoring, and just Miami is better this year than they have been over the last couple of years, but they're still not the Red Sox. They're still not Cleveland. So Yeah. All right. Outfielders, Will. We have a lot of them. We have a lot of outfielders. You're likely going to end up in your outfielder who's ever playing in that position. But talk to me about some of your favorite outfielders today.
Well, listen, we're going to start with, if you listen to the morning grind, we're starting with the morning grind staple extraordinaire. We're going to Houston. Give me my boy Michael Brantley. Look, love Brantley tonight. Good spot, 3,800. Should be in a position to rack up a few fantasy points here. It's all about fantasy points for me tonight. So love him. At the same token, there's no reason for Stephen Kwan to be 4,200 and Michael Brantley to be 3,800 for what it's worth, right? Just putting that out there. Do like Stephen Kwan, but so he's on my list as well. I talked about Yordan Alvarez at 5,200. I think he's my upside bat of the night. Definitely like him a lot. And I just want to kind of go back down to the low range yet again. Miles Straw, 3,500 leading off. I keep talking about Houston, and this Houston Indians game. I like him as well. And then I don't think I've talked as much about this game overall. And I think Stevie has. He's mentioned some guys from there, but the Los Angeles Texas game, I do think if you can find a way to get in Mike Trout tonight, if you can find a way to get in Brandon Marsh, like if you can find a way to get those bats in there in Ohtani, but you can put Ohtani at first on DK as well. But I think that group of outfielders, I think, is going to yield some good results. So yeah, that's kind of my handful that I like a lot.
So for me, I want to start every team I build today with Trout, Ohtani, Alvarez. I want to start there, whether I'm stacking or not. I want those three guys. I think all three of those guys can home run today. I love all three of those guys today. They're my three favorite plays. We do live in a salary cap world, but on FanDuel with Rasmussen, I have those three guys in there, and it was really easy to do. So, for me, I love this spot for those three guys. I'm building around those guys. On the cheap, I like Andrew Vaughn against Hill. I think he has a lot of, upside in this spot. Adam Duvall, I know you like your boy Ranger Suarez. Adam Duvall has been hitting left-handed pitching for years. He's very good against left-handed pitching. So he went from 8th to 7th with no Acuna. So, that was big for him, kind of staying in that same game. I like Ozuna at outfield as well. He's someone that has hit left-handed pitching throughout his career, but just don't sleep on Ohtani, Alvarez, and Trout today. Judge against Wells. The other two guys that I just want to mention, you talked about Schwarber over there on PrizePicks. When Charlie Morton has struggled this year, has been with left-handed power bats. Schwarber and Harper are getting no ownership today. So I think both of those guys are very much in play. Nick Castellanos, if you're looking at those guys, is someone you could pair, and you could build anything you want after that. And then if you're playing on FanDuel, Tyler Nyquin is another guy that I really like. So yeah, the slate's pitching on this slate. You just kind of close your eyes and hope it works out, I think is the best way to say it. And then the hitting on this slate it's fun. It's a fun slate for bats. You kind of hope. If you're playing 150 lineups tonight, you're really spreading out your pitcher ownership, I feel like, and you're not really taking a stack off the board. There's not a stack that if I was playing 150, I'd be like, I'm not playing them tonight, especially on DraftKings.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there a stack like that for you tonight? Like, is there, looking at the 5-game slate on DraftKings, is there a team that you're like, I'm not going to play them tonight? If you're playing 150.
If I had to, it would probably be Boston, but I don't even think I'd take them out.
Leverage, though.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I don't even think I would take them out.
Someone asked if Ohtani is out. We have Ohtani. The lineup came out with him batting leadoff, so I don't know where they're seeing Ohtani out. I hope not. As much as we just talked about Ohtani, but yeah, I think I don't think I take the Red Sox out because of leverage. I like the Texas stack today. I think they're a little low owned stack. I think if I was like taking any team out today, it might be like the Yankees, which
Really?
sounds so weird, but
Wow.
with Judge's ownership the way that it is, and like as many good first base plays that we have today, if you're taking a team out, you're hoping that they don't do well. And I mean, so you just take Judge out, you take Rizzo out, the rest of the lineup, assuming that like the rest of the lineup comes out as projected, it's not going to be the best lineup in the world. So, no Stanton, potentially Donaldson's out. So yeah, I think that's where I'm at. Like if I'm taking a team out, I think it's the Yankees. All right, we did have a couple questions over in the YouTube chat. We got about 15 minutes before the crunch time guys get in. One of the questions that we had was, is it okay to play Castillo in cash games with the potential weather? I'm not Kevin Roth, Will. I'm going to defer this question to Kevin Roth, and we'll ask him that before we get out of here in about 15 minutes. But for me right now, with what I read of his weather report, I don't see myself using him.
Yeah, not in cash for sure. Not in cash for sure. I don't think you can risk it.
Don't want to risk the biscuit?
No, I don't think you do it. I don't think you do it. I mean, he said it's nothing to immediately threaten the ballpark, but they're going to see some showers. So I think you stay away. There's enough pitching that you don't have to do it, is I think how I feel about that.
On FanDuel for sure. I mean, with the one pitcher site, it's a lot different in my opinion, so I'm with you on FanDuel. I feel like I'd play Rasmussen at a little bit more, or Giolito in cash. I mean, there's so much potential value.
Yeah. I'm thinking about going back to the well on PrizePicks too on Giolito. Like the more I sit here and think about this, like Boston just rocked the mess out of Dylan Cease last night. And we're getting it's Boston and I get it. But we're getting Giolito at 6.5 strikeouts when he's usually at 7. And we're getting him at, in terms of fantasy points, at 35.5. I feel like I'm more interested in the strikeouts than I am the fantasy points. I might go ahead and write this up on Scores and Odds since I have time. I think I'm going to put Giolito in there. I'm going to look at some stuff. I'm not just going to do it blindly. But man, Giolito at 6.5 tonight, 34% K rate, 3.41 xFIP. He will give up some runs, but Boston's got a couple strikeouts in there. I'm going to dig into this. This is starting to feel pretty good here.
Yeah, I mean, here's a freebie bet for you today. I love the over in the Rangers-Angels game. I love the over in that game. It's at 9. It opened at 8.5. I think there's one or two books like that still had it 8.5. I'm going to look really quick because I looked before. Looks like it's 9 everywhere now. I like the over in that game, and I like LA minus 1.5. I like both of those lines. So
yeah,
I think that game is high scoring. I think that's the potentially like highest scoring game on the slate. I don't think that's like a hot take by any means. I do think that is over there. So again, if you haven't already, there's a 3-day trial going on right now on Scores and Odds, free for 3 days. Take advantage.
Stevie, here's something else. Now I'm even more intrigued in Giolito. Hear me out here. And I know you're probably going to think, what? Well, you'll understand. I could get him at plus 110 on PointsBet at 6.5, over 6.5. Like that's really good for a guy that's got really good K stuff. Oh man, I got to check and see if Grant's on that. Grant might already be on that, by the way, for what it's worth. But if he's not, that's going on Scores and Odds right now, actually.
All right, I like it. Just to confirm, just so you know, no one has wrote up Lucas Giolito on Scores and Odds today, but
it's going up.
Drizzy has a huge parlay up today. I mean, huge by like it's plus 651,401. So yeah, hey, you never know. Yeah, you never know. I mean, he has it written up over there, 0.25 units to win 1,600.
Hey,
That's like
get
one
it
of
how
those
you
things where
live.
like that's one of those things where you see it and you're like, if it hits, I want to be a part of that. So, maybe I'll throw like $20 on
Yeah,
it.
I know.
Listen, I like some of the stuff. I was looking at some of the stuff that was on it, and I like some of the stuff on there for sure. So, but I mean, he is a Yankees fan, so maybe he's a little biased. All right, we had a couple more questions here. We had question in chat. Maybe they're joining us here late. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. Do we have thoughts on the New York Yankees pitcher? Talk to me here about JP Sears. I know we've already talked about it, but for someone that's just tuning in.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I shared on FanDuel is, do you think he scores enough points to actually help you take down a GPP? In cash, he might be fine. But I think his upside on FanDuel is 4 innings, 6 strikeouts, and that's if he doesn't give up any runs. That'll put you at 30 fantasy points. I think this is upside. We talked about it on DK. If we knew he was going to get 15, we'd probably take out 15 right now. Realistically, Stevie, what do we think? He gets 12 to 15 on DK if everything went right. I'm thinking he gets around 12 fantasy points. So I'm still in because the pitching is really rough overall. But that's where I am on Sears on both sides.
Any other slate, I think it's the opportunity for fading him is there. I think fading him today is there. He maxed out at 65 pitches in his last 2 AAA starts. He has good strikeout stuff. We really don't know what to expect pitch count wise as well. So I mean, that's definitely something that we're a little concerned about. Baltimore is just so bad. The lineup is just so bad. Like, I don't want to shower you with numbers, but like I said earlier, 100 ISO, 257 WOBA, 24.5% K rate, and a 5% walk rate for these Baltimore hitters against left-handed pitching this season. So, I mean, if BABIP's on his side, I could see him going 75 pitches here. I could see him striking out 4 to 6 guys. And I mean, again, like we were talking about on DraftKings, man, we would feel so good about 15.
Oh, yeah.
So we have a Yankees fan in chat. They said, can we really play Giolito with the Red Sox cheating Astros style? So obviously a Yankees fan, because they're the only people that would believe that the Red Sox are cheating as bad as they've been this season. Will Giolito, Red Sox, you just talked about how much you want to do it, but yeah, I mean, you look at the Red Sox lineup, they don't have a ton of strikeouts in the lineup. They don't walk. They've struggled this season. They're still top 15 in baseball against right-handed pitching. I think they're bottom 3 against left-handed pitching. Giolito, Red Sox. I mean, ceiling-wise, he's the top guy, right?
Yeah, look, I've seen Boston get mowed down against worse, just generally speaking. And that's the beauty about baseball, right, Stevie? If you stick with the high upside guys, they're gonna hit a lot more than they won't. And so my spin with Giolito on scores and odds here, less about fantasy, more about the prop side, is we're getting it at plus 110. Like we're not getting it like minus 160. You know what I mean? Like we're at plus 110 on this with Giolito at over 6.5K. So I feel a lot better about it. I feel like the odds are in my favor to invest. And so that's really what it is. From a fantasy perspective, it's similar, whereas he is the most expensive, but he's also got the most upside. If he's got 8 Ks tonight and he didn't give up any runs, he's going to be the top pitcher on the slate. And those are the facts. So I'm in on Giolito, fully understanding that, in some of these spots like this, I try not to target them. But I'm looking, Giolito's got 4 bats over at 20% or more tonight. So I'm at least, I think, as long as everything breaks our way. So if he Ks those guys once and Ks one of the lower K guys once, like he's going to be well on his way to 6-7 strikeouts. So it's just really more of an odds play from the prop side. fantasy side is just he's got more upside than anybody right now.
I don't see any more questions over in the YouTube chats. Let me check Discord. Again, if you're just joining the show, crunch time on in about 5 minutes. If you have questions, post them in chat. We'll answer them. Also, PGA DFS, Notorious's core article, free this week. Will thinks the Heat's going to win tonight. I think because Dean's at the game, the Celtics are going to win tonight. Have to play some PGA DFS this week because Noto wrote up my boy Kevin Na. So whenever Kevin Na is playable, I have to play some DFS. Favorite leverage stack tonight on DraftKings for GPPs. Will
gotta be Baltimore, right? I mean, it's gotta be
Baltimore or Boston. I think those are the two stacks. Like if you're wanting max leverage, no pitcher is safe on this slate. So I think you could either stack Baltimore or Boston as a max leverage spot tonight. You're on Cleveland. You like Cleveland. Javier is going to be pretty highly owned. Outside of Jose Ramirez, no one else is projected for more than like 6% ownership on Cleveland tonight. So I mean that's some good leverage there. But I mean, if you're looking at Boston, no one's projected for more than 10%. Baltimore, we see a couple guys like Mullins, Mancini with some decent ownership just because of just how cheap they are. I guess that's FanDuel. I have FanDuel up. I don't know what their ownership is on DraftKings. Hold on. So now, yeah, I mean, on the 5-game slate, Boston, no one's over 10% on DraftKings. Cleveland, Jose Ramirez is still the only guy that's getting any kind of ownership on DraftKings as well. And then Baltimore, like I said, Mullins and Mancini. We see Mountcastle getting some ownership. He's batting 5th. He's a first base play. He's really, really cheap. So I do think like looking at ownership, Boston or Cleveland might end up actually being like your max leverage. I think Boston's your max leverage play today. Just kind of looking at ownership. And what's crazy, Will, on a 5-game slate, we're talking about one of the offenses with the most potential in baseball, the Red Sox, being the like max leverage on a 5-game slate.
Yeah.
So I don't see any more questions. Let's play the stack game. We got like 2 or 3 minutes here before the crunch time guys jump in. Let's play the stack game. 1 being your least favorite, 5 being your favorite. Full stack, FanDuel 4, DraftKings 5, Angels.
For me, definitely Cleveland today.
No, I said Angels 1 through 5. You got it.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
This guy.
Sorry.
We all know how much you love Cleveland today, Will. Okay.
Give me a 1. Give me a 1.
A 1 for LA?
A 5.
All right. I'm out. I'm working with Dean today. So I'm going to give the Angels a 5. I'm going to do 2 more teams, and the crunch time guys are going to join us. Boston, 1 to 5.
1.
I think I got to go like 3.5 for Boston today, just because of like the max leverage that you can create on the field with them. Let's finish it out though, because you are. I mean, I did Red Sox, so I feel like we have to go Atlanta. 1 to 5. What about your Braves? I'm putting you on the spot. Your team.
Yeah, I'm right in the middle on the Braves. The K rate's always got a bit so high. I'm going to go 3.5 on the Braves today.
Oh, look, he's coming over to the dark side.
Which means get ready, folks. I'm going against my team here, and God, I'm going to feel really yucky if they go off for 20 runs tonight.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've convinced Will that the Braves are not too bad today. We're going to let the Crunch Time Jazz join us. While they're joining us, Will, we had a question in YouTube chat. Vaughn or Moncada today?
Give me Moncada. I like Moncada today for sure.
Cheese, who you got? You got Moncada or you got Vaughn?
Slightly into Vaughn. Really like him.
Look at it. This is the Motley crew, man. We got Justin. We got Cheese. We got Roth, who has his mic muted like he's a rookie. No camera yet. So what's happening, Cheese? What's happening, FPL?
And we know how to turn our cameras on, like young, strapping, technology-oriented individuals.
Yeah. Nothing says technological savvy like having me and Justin on. Like, we know our stuff for sure.
I mean, this is the new age, right? Look,
Roth, you just got a picture of his computer. It's just all sorts of mess. The audio's not even working.
I know this guy today.
Are we not early? What's going on?
Roth was drinking too many of those warm beers.
He's like, I've been on once already today. Like, what do you guys want from me?
Hang on, I'm going to read this email. Crunch Time crew can hop in now 6:15. Ah, crap. All right, you're right.
You're 5 minutes late.
Yeah. Dang it. Okay. All right.
Before we get out of here, Roth, we had a bunch of questions in chat on YouTube. Is Castillo? Do you feel comfortable playing him on FanDuel in cash games today?
So I assume you're asking me, can I play a pitcher in Cincinnati?
Yep.
Yeah.
We're on to Cincinnati.
It's not the safe move. I think it probably works out, but like I was thinking about numbers because you guys all work in numbers, and I think there's probably about a 30 to 35% chance of a delay and about a 20% chance that a delay knocks out a pitcher. So I don't know if you guys feel that's safe enough to do or not to do.
You said 20 to 35, Roth?
I said probably a chance of a delay is like 1 in 3, like we'll say 33%. And the chance that a delay knocks out a pitcher is probably about 20%. If I had to like put numbers on it.
Yeah, I got you.
30 plus 20 is 50.
Well, that's not how it works.
But the chance that Castillo flops like he always does is about 95%. So
true Cardinals fan.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna get out of here. Let you guys handle the FanDuel crunch time. Thanks, you guys, for jumping on. Will, always fun. Morning grind, tomorrow. So see you guys. Have fun.
Later, guys.
We'll see you.
What happened? Was there no
Man,
Dean?
it sure is a pleasurable experience. And Dean's not. It's because he said something bad about Top Gun. He's fired. He's gone. You'll never see him again.
We got rid of him.
Like I said, that's it for this guy.
Yeah.
Out of here.
I kind of figured maybe he just did the one show earlier and was like, "Yeah, I'm good. I've had enough."
No, like I told him to sit in his room and watch Top Gun until he figures this out, and then he can come back.
That's a good move. For what it's worth, Chief, you can peace out of here, by the way, if you want, bud. Thank you. We appreciate
you know that's my comedic relief. You know that, right? I got to hang around until I get kicked out now. So, all right, I'm out. See you later.
All right, later, buddy. Cheese, I did something phenomenal today. I had about 10 free minutes. And I just talked into my wonderful TV because I can talk into the remote. And I said, Top Gun. And sure enough, on Netflix, they have the original Top Gun you can watch. And I just watched the opening scene. Goosebumps, man. Just goosebumps. It was so good.
Tomorrow's already planned out. We're going to, when my dog gets off work at 1, we're going to watch Top Gun, the original. Then after crunch time, we're going to go and see the new one. It's going to be the greatest day probably ever.
I mean, Dean in the past has always ripped on me for not knowing all the movie references and all. I have even seen Top Gun, and I think it's a pretty good movie, but it's been a while since I've watched it. But even I have seen it, and that to me is the hallmark of a movie that if I've seen it, it must be pretty good.
Well, he's seen it. He's just saying that he's not excited about the new one, which is
even worse.
Ridiculous.
That's even a worse take than not seeing the first one. It's terrible. It's unforgivable, but we're gonna forgive him because we love him and he's Dean. Hey, this is the show that you've been waiting for. This is the moment you've been waiting for. It's Crunch Time, sponsored by FanDuel. Check out the FanDuel 100K Wednesday MLB Squeeze Contest. 20K to first. $5 to enter, 20K to first. What a deal. You can sign up with the FanDuel Sportsbook. If you are in a legal sports betting state, new users get a risk-free bet up to 1K, and you get that bonus with your first bet, which is a great deal. So some wonderful stuff going on there. Also, PGA is happening. We got Noto's Core Plays that is available for free today. Go to rotogrinders.com, hover over the thing that says PGA, and then go down and find Noto's Core Plays. And there you go. Boom, you got half your
my article wasn't good enough.
Your article, maybe it was too good.
It was too good. It couldn't be free. There you go.
We were joined, like, Noto and Cards are just two of the sharpest golf minds in the universe. And I know we've got other guys doing it, but you guys have been doing it forever. And I mean, that's what you do, right, Cards? I mean, you do it all, but you love golf.
I do love golf. And it was a fun week last week, and pegged a winner to pegged Will Zalatoris to win, and he lost in a playoff and finished second. So that was a little bit of a bummer, but hey, golf is always fun. You get a 4-day sweat out of it.
Yeah. Which reminds me, I haven't done the forecast yet for golf, so I got to do that. I've been focusing on the forecast for this, which we should now use as a segue to get into. Let's talk some weather. There are a lot of times when I know exactly what's going to happen with the weather and with the team, and Atlanta is a good example of that. I think they're going to play. I think they're not going to have any issues. I think they might call for a late start because it's still raining right now. But even if they do, I think you go ahead and you play it. There are other times when I don't really know. I know what the weather is, but I don't know what the team is going to do about it. That happens. And then there are a few times when I just don't know what the hell the weather is going to do. And I feel that way in Chicago today. I don't know what's going to happen in Chicago. My
Cincinnati.
gut. No.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
Chicago.
It's even worse.
The White Sox game.
The place
Yeah.
where there actually is a good pitcher for real, not a fake good pitcher.
Got it.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah. I think in general, they're going to play the game and there's going to be some sort of a delay, whether that's a late start or whether that's an in-game delay. I don't know yet. Hopefully looking at radar as we get a little closer, I can tell. And Cheese, I'm guessing by the look on your face, we need to know that sooner rather than later.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the two big pitchers on the slate.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's still the other good pitcher that's expensive does start at the same time an hour later. So, I mean, I'm playing them both together though on DraftKings.
I see.
On FanDuel, it's a very easy pivot and you get leftover money, but that game is very important to me. So,
you would like to know by what, in the next 20 minutes? Don't we have games locking in like 20 minutes or something stupid?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
FanDuel starts in 14 minutes.
Yeah.
And that has the Cincinnati game, and Cincinnati's playing the Cubs, thus my confusion with the whole Chicago reference a minute ago.
Gotcha. Well, as for that game, a few people have asked me about bats in it. I think bats are fine. I think in tournaments, I'm absolutely feeling okay throwing some pitchers there. But if you're looking for a safe play for cash games, I would not play a pitcher in Cincinnati because it just takes one pop-up storm, and there's 8 pop-up storms in the general area. One of them goes over the ballpark, and it could lead to a delay that could cause trouble. So that's where I'm at. Cheese, for you, I am going to look again in Chicago. I honestly don't think I'm going to have any like light bulb moments here because I just looked at the latest forecast models as they came in. But I'll take another quick peek at that. If you have any other weather questions, get them in now. I'll get to those in a little bit. But with that, let's talk about this slate a little bit. Cheese, kind of give me an overall breakdown.
It's a lot of good hitting. The pitching, there's a couple good pitchers up top, but the matchups aren't ideal, and they're not like things you would normally be excited to spend on. We have one very interesting cheap pitcher on DraftKings and then a cheap pitcher on FanDuel in that Cincinnati game. So you can kind of go wherever you want with pricing, but like the pitching is not deep. The hitting is very deep. And I mean, I've kind of ended up ranking stacks, but I mean, really there's half dozen teams that are pretty closely bunched and all with a lot of upside.
Okay. You want to talk about some of the pitchers? Start us off there.
I do. So let me start on FanDuel because that's where it's very different because we have Louis Castillo at 7,300. I mean, I get it. The old Louis Castillo against the Cubs should be more than 7,300. He's 3 starts back. He has not looked right. His velocity's not back. The strikeouts are way down. The swinging strikes are down even more. We don't really need the salary. I think he's a terrible play in cash games. I don't even play cash games, and I think he's a terrible play. I think he's a bad play in tournaments. I have like 2 Castillo lineups, and those are the 2 I'm certain will lose. Mm-hmm. I get it. It could, like, tonight could be the night he figures it, like, that it comes back. Like, he was just slow in starting because he was hurt. Like, he might be fine, but tonight's not the night we need the salary. Personally, I just think Javier is a way better play at 82. I even prefer JP Sears at 6K over Louis Castillo. I don't think Giolito's really that necessary on FanDuel, especially with that rain risk. But he is like the top raw points guy. Mostly I'm playing Christian Javier.
Okay, and Castillo is the guy in Cincinnati?
Correct.
Did you add in the rain risk when you were talking about why he's not a great cash play? I don't know.
No. It's because he's not good right now. He could get good as soon as tonight. Like it's coming, but it's not here yet. And I don't like it at all personally.
Okay. Before we get some pitcher takes from cards, I will give you an update and I will tell you what I think is going to happen in Chicago. I think they're going to late start and I think they're going to play after that, likely uninterrupted. I don't feel wonderful about that, especially since the game is still an hour and a half or something. It's still a ways out, but go for it, Cheese.
So you're saying a late start's good.
Sure.
If they don't late start, like, is it maybe it's just going to rain and they'll just play? Or is it like it's going to rain harder and it's going to end up in a delay?
Give me 1 second here. Just looking at this. The game is still more than an hour and a half out. So like, it's hard for me to tell you what radar, what if a late start would be good or bad, or if starting without, I need to be closer to first pitch to see radar to know whether a late start is good or bad.
Okay. We can check back in an hour. And
my current thought is that they probably late start it and they probably play without delay from there.
Well, for whatever it's worth, I'm just playing Giolito. Honestly, the way this slate shakes out this is on DraftKings. On FanDuel, I don't think you need him. On DraftKings, I don't think you even necessarily lose if you get 4 innings of Giolito and it rains out. And we didn't touch on DraftKings really. JP Sears at $5,500 because the rest of the slate is so bad. This is a rookie. We don't know much about him. He's probably only going to go 65, 70 pitches, but he's probably at least pretty good, if not really good. And he's 5,500 and the mid-range pitchers are terrible. So personally, Giolito, Javier, and Sears is my entire pitcher pool on DraftKings in 50 lineups.
Okay. Those sound like good pitchers. Cards, let's talk some pitchers. What say you?
Yeah, not a whole lot different. Other than rain risk aside, I do feel a little bit better about Castillo. I guess I don't think it would be possible to be more negative than Cheese was about him. So I'm not sure how much that's saying, but Vegas likes him. Like his strikeout prop is 6.5 in a few spots. He's facing the Cubs at home, pretty decent favorite, which is rare for the Reds. And there are 10 fans that are left at the ballpark on a rainy night. And he's just super cheap on FanDuel. So because the rest of the pitching stinks and there's rain risk with Giolito, I think Castillo's fine on FanDuel. I mean, I'm not going to twist anybody's arm and say they got to play him, particularly as what will likely be the highest owned pitcher on the slate. But I don't share the same extreme negative sentiments that Cheese does on him. But I don't like him that much in general anyway. So that's not a rousing endorsement. That's just it's a slightly better than I think he's terrible play kind of level with Castillo. Sears I do like on DraftKings for the reasons that Cheese mentioned. He's just really cheap. He's facing Baltimore. 65 pitches or so of him should be fine tonight to pair him with Javier or Giolito or whoever you're using at the top. Pitching is just kind of meh tonight. I think maybe if you're looking to get a little bit different on FanDuel, Rasmussen might be in play. The Marlins have the lowest team total on the slate, but he's probably not going to go more than 5 or 6 innings. So that limits your ceiling a little bit there. But I think he's okay if you're looking to build a bunch of lineups on FanDuel. DraftKings, my pool is basically the same as Dave's. It's the 3 guys that he's using. I don't see any reason to go outside of that.
Okay. Let's just kind of lightning round this right into stacks because we're coming up on that FanDuel lock. So Cards, give me what the chalk stack is and give me some of your other favorites.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think there's a massive chalk stack tonight. It's going to be spread out. Like the top end guys for the Angels are going to be popular. The top end guys for Houston are going to be popular. And the top end guys for the Yankees are going to be popular, but not necessarily the full stacks. So I think the Braves could end up being the team that maybe goes a little bit under-owned out of the bunch with all their right-handed bats. I think when you factor in the ownership, I think the Braves are probably my favorite, with Houston probably second. But it is going to be interesting to see how that ownership spreads out a little bit tonight. So Braves, Astros, Angels, Yankees, probably in that order for me.
Cheese?
Yeah, so the three that Cards said are my three favorite, probably in a slightly flip-flopped order. I would go Angels, Astros, Braves. But then Yankees, White Sox, Phillies, I like a lot too. And that's a lot for a small slate, but they're all so closely bunched. I don't think either in ownership or in how I'm playing them, I don't think it gets spread out much at all. They're just clumped together.
Okay, let's go around the horn here, Cheese. So we'll try to get this done before FanDuel lock. What do you like at catcher first base? And tell me right now, is it better to just do FanDuel?
Yeah, since it starts quick, let's just do FanDuel. Okay. Votto is cheap, but Abreu is better and also cheap. Andrew Vaughn is cheap. Jared Walsh is my favorite if you have a little more money, and Rizzo is fine.
Cards?
Yeah, not a whole lot to add. I do like Abreu a whole lot at 2,900 on FanDuel against a lefty that's not going to blow it by him. So Abreu and Walsh probably my favorites. I know Votto's really cheap on FanDuel, but I'm probably not going there tonight.
Take us to first, Cards.
That was kind of catcher and first
That's
together
true,
since we did so. We'll go to second. Kind of remains to be seen what's going to happen in the long run with Marcus Semien. He has not been good. His batted ball numbers aren't great, but he's still 2,500 on FanDuel, and I'm still probably going to get sucked into that price tag. The good news is if you don't want to go there, you don't have to. Like Albies is 3,100, and particularly if you're saving at pitcher, that's not that huge of a price tag when you consider that Altuve is like 4,200 on FanDuel. So, I think Albies and Semien, they'll probably be the two chalk options. And then actually the Yankees lineup just came out because they were waiting on some news and they put Stanton on the injured list, and their lineup is really ugly tonight. And they've actually got Torres hitting cleanup. So against the Orioles hitting cleanup, I think he's fine as well.
Cheese, anything to add, or you want to take us to third?
Yeah, I'll throw Ian Happ in there on FanDuel.
Okay, third base.
Jose Ramirez is great, even if you're playing Javier. Like he's the one-off guy you can play. I like Bregman more for the salary, and I like Austin Riley, Moncada, and Moustakas. If you kind of need salary, but you don't really need salary unless you're playing Giolito. So I like getting up to Bregman, Riley.
Okay. Cards, anything to add at third, or you want to take us to short?
Yeah, I like Riley a good bit too. Otherwise, nothing really to add. So Riley is definitely my favorite in GPPs. Shortstop, Tim Anderson at 3,900 is probably your top play there. Corey Seager tends to often go a little under-owned in lefty-lefty matchups, but we've got him as the second highest owned at the position tonight. So not necessarily getting him sneaky, but a lot of these guys like Torres, Semien, they're multi-position eligible second base shortstop, so you can play them there as well. Moving to the outfield, this is the position where you're going to want to spend tonight. This is why you save money at the other spots. There are so many high-end outfielders. Aaron Judge against Wells and the Orioles. You've got Trout and Ohtani against a bad pitcher for Texas. You've got Alvarez against Cal Quantrill. I think I personally would prioritize Trout and Alvarez if I'm picking two out of the top end. Not to say that the other guys aren't strong plays. They are, but you can only play three of them. So Trout and Alvarez are my favorites on the high end. Andrew Vaughn's hitting second for the White Sox tonight. He's only 2,600. He's probably my top value.
Okay. Geez, I think we're at short or outfield, whatever you want.
Yeah, short. Just, Tim Anderson is the play. Outfield, like Card said, this is where you want to spend your money. And it's not even hard to do. It's kind of hard to get Judge and Trout. But like Ohtani and Alvarez are under 4K. I love them, and they're too cheap. And throw Harper in that high end mix too. Everything else, like on FanDuel, it's just not as necessary. Like you might need one cheap outfielder, Probably Vaughn is my favorite. Pollock is also okay. You can do like Brandon Marsh interests me a little bit. Rafael Ortega is fine. But yeah, spend up in the outfield. I mean, that's really the answer here.
Okay. Cards, anything you want to add?
No, I kind of did short and outfield together, and I think we got through it, and we've got 20 seconds to spare.
Okay. Excellent. Nailed it. Nailed it. Good work, guys. Hey, you're playing one stack for all the monies. Cards, what's your stack?
If it's a single entry and I'm looking to be a little bit different, I think it's Atlanta.
Cheese?
Angels.
Okay. Excellent. Good stuff. Okay. We're going to hit this FanDuel lock. Do we feel okay with where we're at here? Take a little breather. Weather-wise, is there anything more you need?
So, yeah, I think we're good because those two FanDuel games start now, and then everything else is at the same, 25 minutes from now for both sites. So you either played Castillo at this point or you didn't. So there's no, whatever happens in Cincinnati, it's too late to change your opinion on it.
Right.
So unless, if you come across anything in Atlanta or Chicago weather-wise before we leave, let us know. But otherwise, take a breath, and then we can touch on DraftKings where the salaries do get a little different.
Okay. And I will point out that after this show, I'll be posting about what we're seeing in Atlanta and in Chicago. So if you're not on my Twitter at KevinRothWx, be on my Twitter because I'll be posting updates, and there's a chance the update will be, hey, I'm not really sure. But I think there's a legitimate chance the update will be, I feel pretty good that this X, whatever it is going to happen. So stay tuned and we'll see. And hopefully before first pitch, we can figure out what exactly is going to happen. But right now I feel decent in Chicago, but not great. And I feel fine about Atlanta. Let's talk some DK cards. You want to do the honor of going first with some DK pitchers?
Yeah, it's the same guys that we talked about earlier, just minus Castillo not being available on DraftKings. So I think basically what you're going to see a lot of lineups do is either pay up for Giolito and Javier both, or you're picking one of them plus Sears. Now I'm leaning towards if you do both Giolito and Javier, and then let's say their games both start at 8:10. Mm-hmm. And then if weather becomes a problem in Chicago, then you've got an issue because the pivot down to the cheap guy in Sears, you won't be able to do that anymore because that game locks at 7:05. So if you're in Giolito Javier and then that game becomes a problem, then your only pivot is either to Otto for Texas, who you're not playing, or Detmers, who threw a no-hitter with 2 Ks earlier this year. And not that Detmers is a terrible last-ditch pitching option, but he's probably not the ideal use of $8,400. Mm-hmm. So the issue with the dual spend-up pitcher lineup on DraftKings is that you really got to decide whether you're committed to it at 7:00, even though the White Sox game doesn't start at 7:00, if that makes sense. The slate is just so small that if you're using both of the spend-up pitchers, you don't have that many pivots unless you're okay playing Detmers, which I'm not really feeling that great about. So if you go with Giolito and Sears with one expensive pitcher and one cheap pitcher, then you have the flexibility where if Giolito's game's not looking that great, you can pivot and you don't have both expensive pitchers in there already. So even though the White Sox game doesn't lock until 8:10, you probably got to make your decision with what you're doing at pitcher, at least strategy-wise, by 7:05. And that said, right now I would probably lean towards, if I was just doing one lineup, Giolito and Sears with the pivot to Javier at the ready for $500 less if Giolito becomes a problem. I'm literally not playing anybody else. I have no interest in a chalky Charlie Morton right now. Detmers, there's just no upside, and you're not playing any of the other guys against the good offenses.
Okay, I find it interesting. This is the first time I've heard Charlie Morton's name, and apparently he's chalky. So, Cheese, do we not like him and he's chalky?
What'd you say, Roth?
Charlie Morton, this is the first time I've even heard his name. I didn't even realize he was on the slate.
Yeah,
but no interest?
No, goodness. So
Wow.
Morton, first of all, I don't buy that he'll be. I mean, he won't be chalky. I'm not sure I even buy he'll be the 28% owned that we project. He might be, which on a small slate doesn't count really as chalk.
Sure.
It's actually a lot in a different way. It's kind of like the Castillo thing. Like he definitely used to be good, and he still might be good, but he's not. Like if he's good, it's new as of tonight.
Gotcha. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like it just looks like he's actually finally getting old, and he's 9K, and I have 0. Again, I have like 40 or 50 lineups. I have 3 pitchers, period. I have 0 Morton. If I had 150, I might play 1 Charlie Morton just to have something to laugh at later. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not playing him. I hope he's 28% owned. I hope he's 40.
Right. And then just out of curiosity, like you're playing Giolito and you're with the other spend up. Let's say I give you the update and I'm like, ooh, I don't know. It doesn't look good in Chicago. Are you just going to say, I don't care, I'm riding with Giolito, or are you going to make that terrible pivot to the dude who you don't want to play?
Play Detmers.
Yeah, so the news on Giolito would have to be terrible.
Right.
In which case, Detmers is honestly fine. Like Detmers and Sears are about the same play. It's just that Sears is $3,000 cheaper.
Right.
So I don't feel like I'm losing anything to play. Like if I were to play Javier and Sears now, I mean, it's fine to play Javier and Detmers later, but unless you say there's a 92% chance of a delay in the second inning, I'm just riding with Giolito.
Okay, cool. Just curious. Anything else that you want to go over there in pitchers? I don't even know. No, you're good.
No.
Okay. Well, let's talk stacks on DK, which may or may not be different from what they were on FanDuel.
Really not different at all. All the teams we both mentioned as liking are all on both slates.
Run back real fast.
Braves, Astros, Angels are the 3 that both of us said, and then Yankees and White Sox coming in next for me.
Okay, well then we shall do the position by position dance and cards. You get the honor of bringing in the catcher.
Yeah, you got to play one on DraftKings, so that brings the ownership into play a little bit more than it does on FanDuel. And the salaries are also a factor as well. Like Contreras for the Braves is 2,100 on FanDuel. He's 5,200 on DraftKings. I'm not quite sure why he's 5,200 on DraftKings, but the DraftKings algorithm knows. So if you want to play 5,200 William Contreras, you go ahead and do that on DK, but probably not going there myself tonight. Garver at 3,300 hitting third is probably your far and away most popular catcher. Texas is so bad that they've got catchers hitting third and fourth tonight. So much prefer Garver to Heim if you're picking between the two. But, if you want to go for some leverage, Cheese's favorite.
Yes, you absolutely do.
You can had to work that in. Even Real Muto against Morton, not going to be owned at all tonight, and he's hitting 7th. Again, no, the numbers aren't great, but if you want to buy into his track record at 4K at 6% owned at a thin position, or you want to go against Sears and play the uber talented rookie and Adley Rutschman, like I think those guys are reasonable tournament plays. You're probably going Garver and cash, throw Real Muto and Rutschman in the leverage tournament mix.
Okay. Cheese, anything you want to add there?
Yeah, nothing's great. It's interesting that the Rangers have 3 catchers. If they have a lot of
realize there's a third.
Yeah, if they have a lot of pass balls tonight, it's going to be a big problem. It's kind of like the Dodgers second baseman situation. I mean, Garver's the kind of obvious play. I would say don't go overboard with him as a one-off in tournaments, so even though he's fine. I prefer Rutschman, even Castro and Real Muto. Just do something a little different. All these guys are pretty close. It's mostly going to be a play guy in your stack, and I wouldn't mess with Contreras other than a Brave stack. That's not where you want to spend your money.
Okay. Before we go to first, Cheese, I got to get this comment in from TJ. He says, Roth, you screw up the weather just this much, you'll be flying a cargo plane full of rubber dog shit out of Hong Kong. Really awesome. Really excellent stuff there. All right, first base. It's a Top Gun reference in case other people are unaware. It's a Top Gun reference. Continue.
So we do get Ohtani first base eligible on DK, which is very different. He's clearly the top play if you're sitting on some salary. In an Angels stack, you need to play Walsh at first and Ohtani outfield if you're playing them both. I'm fine with Rizzo, but I don't love him. I think Abreu is as good as Rizzo, and he's quite a bit cheaper. And then Andrew Vaughn as well. I'm going to mention a lot of White Sox. It's like I kind of like him as a stack, but it's kind of like you can just play them all individually and just hope for a home run or two. And then I do think, even though I really do like Sears, like, you remember the catalog, Roth, that you used to get? What happened to catalogs anyway? But like Ryan Mountcastle's 2,400.
What happened to Sears?
Yeah. My mom worked at JC Penney, and that was a pretty big rivalry back in the day. We were kind of anti-Sears, but anyway, Ryan Mountcastle is $2,400, and
Jesus catalogs have the devil horns on them. They drew the devil horns on the Sears catalog. Anyway, I digress.
Okay. Okay. First base cards.
I didn't really let Cheese say anything other than. Do you have anybody else
other than Sears?
Yeah. He likes Mountcastle.
Both Olsen and Hoskins are very tournament viable here.
Yeah, I like lefty. That makes people scared to not play Olsen, but it's not like Suarez is going to blow anybody away. So I agree. I like Olsen a lot in tournaments, like the Angels guys. Olsen was the other guy I was going to add into the mix. We've got him at 3% right now. Abreu is certainly fine. He's better play on FanDuel, but works on DraftKings, particularly if you're stacking the White Sox as well.
Okay. Second base.
Second base, it's the same guys. So there's really not a deep pool on DraftKings. Like if you're going to punt, fine, go punt with Tyler Wade or somebody, or Odor. Cardi's not on, so we can't talk about Odor. But otherwise, it's basically Albies and Semien again. Semien not quite as value priced as he is on FanDuel, but I still prefer trying to get up to Albies for 800 more. Altuve's fine in a Houston stack, but on a points per dollar basis, I'd probably go Albies there.
Cheese.
Yeah, totally agree. Sure, Altuve's the best kind of raw points play, but Albies and Torres cheaper. You can go with super cheap stuff in a stack. Like if you're doing an Angel stack, Wade and Rengifo are free. But pretty much it thins out quick. And I don't really want to play Semien outside of a stack if I don't have to. So pretty much Albies and Torres are kind of the go-to guys.
Okay. Take us to wherever the hell we are. I'm doing weather and fighting on YouTube. So all right. I'm out of the loop.
Oh man, that's multitasking. Fighting on YouTube.
Yeah.
Third base. The two good pitchers you can both play a one-off third baseman against. Jose Ramirez and Rafael Devers are top of the line plays, even against pretty good pitchers. By the way, Luis Castillo, LOL. I hope he was chalk. It's unbelievable.
Is he getting crushed?
It's 2-zip, but he does have one out already, and he's only 22 pitches in. Everything's fine. Ramirez, Devers, and Bregman, all very good. But that doesn't mean I don't really like Austin Riley and Moncada as well. This is a deep position. I like all those guys. So it's kind of price dependent. If you're sitting on a bunch of money, I would spend up here for a one-off Ramirez or Devers.
Okay. Cards.
Yeah, I like those plays as well. And it probably is a position where you should be spending up. I just think there's such a high likelihood that one of these high-end guys has a big night, relatively speaking, that this isn't the position where you look for a couple singles and, get by. Maybe you're doing that at second base or catcher, but third base, I think you got to hunt for the power upside there. So, Riley and GPPs, Bregman and GPPs, I agree with those guys.
All right. That brings us to maybe third base.
That was third. It's okay though. You got is there any weather updates you need to pass along while we finish up here?
I just kind of sort of like what I'm seeing in Chicago, and it's still too early to be that excited about it, but I just kind of sort of like what I'm seeing in the long range, even though there's severe thunderstorms everywhere and it's crazy, but there's just this window that I kind of like.
I kind of like you.
Yeah, I kind of like you, Cheese. So I'll tweet about it as we get closer, but I wouldn't immediately run away from it now. I'll tell you that, but go for short, please.
Yeah, shortstop is barren on DraftKings tonight. Like, we've got 4 guys with ownership, and one of them is Velasquez hitting 9th, which is just the Angel stacks, and he's 2,100, but he probably won't be that popular hitting 9th. And then it's basically all the ownership going on Anderson and Seager. And Anderson's really expensive. I mean, he's 5,400 on DK. So it's not like you're getting him for free. I talked about how I like Seager on FanDuel, and obviously on DraftKings, I like him because it's just not a lot of options. Like, you can even probably play Dansby Swanson if you're looking to get a little different in tournaments because he's hitting second. And even though he's a little pricey, it's just hard to get different at this position. So shortstop kind of stinks.
Cheese, anything you want to add at short?
No, that's just what it is.
Okay, kind of stinks. Outfield then. That doesn't kind of stink.
No.
Ew. I mean, it did this morning though, or the afternoon slate. Outfield kind of stunk.
Yeah, we're back to normal now.
That's good.
It's the same names as on FanDuel: Ohtani, Trout, Judge, Alvarez, Harper. They're all like Alvarez is 5,200 and then going up to 62 with Judge. This is the reason you play Sears as your second pitcher, so you can get 2, maybe even 3 of these expensive outfielders. Certainly in stacks, they're great. As one-offs, they're great. As mini stacks, they're great. Play as many of these guys as you can get. I like the Angels the best, but it's close. And, with pricing included, I'll say Alvarez. When you're trying to go cheaper, you can do the 4K range. Like Schwarber is interesting. Andrew Vaughn is interesting, but like I want to save money if I'm going cheaper. So we're looking at like AJ Pollock and Brandon Marsh, kind of down around 3K. Adam Duvall is under 3K. Aaron Hicks, I don't really like, but he exists. Cheap stuff in stacks is fine. But really kind of that low 3K, Pollock, Marsh down to Duvall. You can throw Joey Gallo back into the mix now since he's back. If you want to probably 0 for 4 and or 3 homers, he's back. I didn't know he'd be back as early as tonight, but yeah.
Okay. Cards, what are your outfield thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the Yankees are interesting because their lineup is a bit weak tonight. So we haven't mentioned a whole lot of Yankees. I'm a little bit lower on them than obviously, we take Stanton out of that lineup. That is a big thumper out of the middle. And with Torres hitting cleanup and Andahar hitting 5th tonight, I mean, it does provide you some opportunity to get some of these guys at value prices. I mean, even Gallo at 3,500 on DK, when you consider that the DK salary cap is tough, you're basically not looking at a priority, like a high dollar spend for a whole lot of guys in this lineup. Like outside of Judge and Rizzo, everyone's pretty well affordable. So while I'm lower on the Yankees as a whole, they are a little bit more cost effective if you are looking to spend up at pitcher outside of Judge and Rizzo. So certainly like Judge, nothing against him, but a little lower on the Yankees as a whole with their lineup tonight. Otherwise, I agree with all the plays in the outfield. Marsh is too cheap on DraftKings, so a lot more interest here. Still probably prioritizing Trout and Alvarez as the top 2 if you got 2 spots to spend up for.
Okay, great. We've got about 7-8 minutes until a Yankees game, which I assume is when lock is. Correct, Cheese?
Correct.
That is correct. Guys, superstar Luis Castillo got out of the first. It only took him 32 pitches. Very quality efficiency, and got a whole strikeout.
Ooh.
Almost as many strikeouts as runs allowed.
What did you write about him? I did not see what you wrote about him.
I mean, I wasn't really this mean about it. Like, I feel like I need to be fair, like, and fairly, I do understand the play. I understand it. But like when I'm actually telling people what I'm playing, like, I feel like I'm allowed to just be meaner than I need to be. It was a terrible play.
Right. Yeah. I think that's okay.
Very right.
And you would just have to like eat crow if he went out there and got 9 strikeouts and only gave up 1 earned run.
Yeah. And he still could get 6 or 7 strikeouts. Like, he does have talent and he'll get there eventually.
Yeah. All right. But it doesn't look like it. It's
probably not
tonight. It's probably not going to be tonight since he's already thrown over 30 pitches. Okay. Let's see. A few people, by the way, like aside, says Castile 50% owned on 50% on FanDuel Cash. Thank you for taking me off that death. And then I don't know if that's a train that he did a little emoji there, but either way, good job. Jay says, which 4K outfielder would you predict to outscore all the high-end outfielders in a DK single entry? Cards, I want to give that one to you. Which 4K outfielder?
Well, what if I think all the 5K outfielders are going to go nuts? The 4K outfielders aren't really that good. Like,
then say it.
So here's the thing. Do we have a zillion questions?
No, not really.
Okay,
we do on YouTube, but we got to prioritize.
Judge, Trout, Ohtani, and Alvarez in the 5Ks. When you go down to the 4Ks, your 4K options are JD Martinez against the best pitcher on the slate, Stephen Kwan, who's hitting 8th and has no power, Kyle Schwarber against Morton, probably okay for tournaments, but are you really going to take him over Ohtani and Trout and Alvarez? Cedric Mullins, lefty. I mean, the 4K outfielders on DraftKings just aren't very good.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Let's see. Serious question. How many Red Sox is too much Red Sox on FanDuel? Cheese? How much Red Sox is too much Red Sox?
So basically, Devers is the only guy I like on his own on FanDuel. Otherwise, it's fine to stack them. Like we saw last night, they went nuts against a really good pitcher. They're a good enough team to do it. But, I mean, officially, if I had like 5 lineups, I would have 0.
Okay.
So pretty much maybe Devers, or you're stacking and you're, just playing that. Maybe we get a run back of last night, but it's down the list of ways.
Gotcha. All right. What are your thoughts on Rendon, Cards?
Yeah, I don't mind him. Like, third base is so strong tonight. Like, if he was at shortstop, he'd be a lot stronger play. So you're going to see a lot of people mainly just play him in Angel stacks, which is fine. And we've only got him at like 7% ownership on FanDuel, maybe mid-teens on DraftKings. So, I think he's all right. I prefer other third basemen in a vacuum, but definitely as part of an Angel stack, he's fine.
Okay, CLT says, Roth and Cheese, were you aware there's a professional golfer named Maverick McNeely, and shocker that he's Dean's least favorite golfer on the tour? I was not. Cheese, were you?
Is this a golf and a Top Gun reference wrapped in one?
Yeah.
Apparently. I was aware there was a golfer, I think, named M. McNeely, because I scrolled past him one day.
Yeah.
I did not. I guess I wouldn't have. If you just said the name, I'm not sure I would have said definitely a golfer. I definitely did not know he was Dean's least favorite golfer.
Right. But the least surprising thing is that the dude with the coolest name, and who is definitely awesome because his name is Maverick McNeely, and Dean hates him. Like, it's just,
that guy, Dean, goodness gracious.
All right. Cheese, real question. Best one-off short, I'm dumpster diving here. Marwin, Velasquez, or Dubon?
As a one-off, I actually ran into that situation once or twice. I played Dubon.
Okay, great. I saw a couple people on YouTube asking about that as well. One lineup stack, single entry on DK. Did you guys have different answers?
Still the Braves for me and the Angels for Cheese.
Great. Okay. Dan Jan says, Cards, any interest in a Philly stack, single entry on DK?
Oh, he didn't troll me with the Boston question. I wondered if that was him with the Boston question earlier, because we've chatted about Boston before. You know what? I don't mind that. I share Cheese's concerns about Charlie Morton, and there's going to be almost no ownership on the Phillies. In terms of offenses with upside against a pitcher that can be inconsistent, when you factor in the ownership, I think they're a really interesting tournament stack.
Great. Cheese making your work here. DK Cash, best outfielder, 2.8 or less.
I think Duvall is 2.8, isn't he? Or is he 2.9? Scroll. Duvall, 2.8.
Yeah, he's 2.8.
Excellent. All right. Cards, FanDuel Cash, Util, Gallo, Hicks, or Vaughn?
Cash is, you just can't do Gallo. It's Vaughn for me.
All right. Dave, does it make sense to pair Sears and Roebuck on DraftKings?
You know that's not really a full-on baseball question, right?
See, Sears. What the hell is Roebuck? Is that a
Sears
department
and
store?
Roebuck? Sears and Roebuck is the actual name of Sears, and way back in the day, it was like called Sears and Roebuck, and then eventually they dropped the Roebuck.
All right. First off, I'm embarrassed.
I got that, but it took me a minute. It took me a second to process it too, Raw.
I'm humiliated. All right, we'll move on. It's Mohawk. It's my bad. I should have gotten that. Jay, but I honestly never heard that it was Sears and Roebuck. That's before my time. When I was growing up, it was just
it's
Sears.
a long time ago.
It was just Sears. Jay says, is it crazy to play a one-off Oriole? I'm getting crushed. I'm just getting crushed for that. Is it crazy to play a one-off Oriole versus Sears if I'm playing him in single entry?
In a single entry, I just don't think it's necessary. The slate is small enough that, maybe you can get away with it. So, I mean, we saw a guy win like 100K a couple weeks ago with batters against each of his pitchers on DraftKings. So play whoever you want. If the guy, he's probably only going to go 65 pitches. So if, once the bullpen gets in there, the guy can hit a home run. It really wouldn't be a huge consideration one way or the other.
Okay. Greatness. FanDuel GPP, Sears or Angels pitcher, which I don't believe is a troll. I believe that's a real question.
It is.
Yeah, that's good. Geez.
That's
Sears.
very interesting because like Sears has no chance of a quality start and things would have to go really well for him to even get the 5 innings for a win. I mean, I wouldn't play either is the real answer, but I guess Detmers.
Okay. All right. John Tom, FanDuel GPP. I'm mostly playing Angels and White Sox cards. You want Pollock and Judge one-off or Walsh and Jordan one-off?
Ooh, I'll take the second one.
All right. Cheese, FanDuel, Garver or Vaughn?
Vaughn.
All right. Guess what, guys? We did it. We did the things. Oh boy, I didn't even want to look at the YouTube after looking at the Sears thing. Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. Let's see if there's any little questions here. Okay. I think we've done the things, gentlemen. I think that's how it's done. Anything you guys want to add here before we sign out? No.
This is my last show for a week, so I'm going to St. Louis next week to watch the Cardinals, and enjoy the Memorial Day holiday. I'm really excited to see all these young kids the Cardinals have brought up. It's me, I'm usually Mr. Pessimistic Cardinals fan, but they've brought up this Yepes is potentially a candidate for Rookie of the Year if he keeps going. Brendan Donovan's a guy that they've called up that has just surpassed all expectations. And then they called up their top prospect, Nolan Gorman, earlier in the week, and he's hitting about 375 since they called him up. So pessimistic Cardinal fan is pretty excited about the young offensive guys they've got right now.
And speaking of young guns, I imagine you're taking your son, who is a massive Cardinals fan, with you.
We're taking the whole family. So we're taking oldest son, who is mini Justin. It is very dangerous when they have a bad game and a blown lead or something, because then my wife has to deal with both of us being cranky. But so we're taking the whole family. Our youngest could care less about baseball, but we've got some other activities planned to, make it worthwhile for him as well. So.
Okay. Well, that sounds glorious. We will miss you, of course. But have a good time with that.
Yeah. Thanks to Cheese for filling in for me on the article this weekend. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Cheese. Cheese, all around good guy.
I would like to close this show by saying that Louis Castillo's pitching ability is about the same as Dean's movie ability.
Is it still going downhill as Castillo?
No, I mean, he's just starting the second inning.
Okay.
I just want to say something about Dean. Like, I really hope that at least once Dean just wakes up and goes to see Top Gun, he will realize, boy, I just said the dumbest thing that anyone's ever said.
Yeah.
And I apologize profusely forever for the rest of my life. And
that's
then
our
we'll
hope.
Forgive him. Yes.
Yeah, that's our only hope, is that he just comes clean and is just like, I was wrong.
Were you getting ready to say you were heading somewhere, Raw?
No, I was going to say I'm going to do more work.
Okay.
I got to get a
PGA.
I got to get a PGA weather forecast out, so I'm going to do that like now. It shouldn't.
I believe
take
they're
long.
in Houston. I think.
Oh, well, then
they're in Texas somewhere. I think they're in
Oh.
Houston, and I think they've been getting some rain this week, maybe.
Yeah, but now it's all gone. So
Okay.
now it's
Well,
fine.
that's
The weather in Houston's super quiet. But I'll knock that out real fast. And then Castillo gave up another hit, Desired says. And then also I'm going to be posting about the Chicago game. There's about to be a severe thunderstorm warning that's going to just get that close to them. But I don't know. I hope they don't screw me, but I still like what I'm seeing. I'll tweet about it coming up shortly. So with that, we're going to get on out of here. For Cheese and for Cards and for our wonderful production crew working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love it. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.